Okay folks, we're here at the boat and we have completed day 3 and now we're well into day 4. In fact, it's the end of the day of day 4, and I'll take you on a walk around of the boat and show you what we've completed. We've got part of the Deadwood reinstalled and we're waiting to move the blocks under the keel so that we can complete the rest of the Deadwood. Let's take a look around the boat. Okay, so up here at the bow you can see that the bottom paint is all applied, at least the first coat of bottom paint. And this little thing with the blue tape hanging out underneath it, that's the depth sounder transducer. And then we're coming down here to the rear of the boat, or the stern of the boat, and you can see the new piece of wood that has been scarfed into place here, and the jacks are holding it until the epoxy sets. And then forward of that you can see the keel block that we're going to move, and then we'll be able to finish up that forward section, and hopefully we're going to be doing that all tomorrow. We're scheduled to be picked up by the travel lift tomorrow, and they'll move that keel block back here to the back section after we sand this down just a little bit, and then we'll replace this front section, and then we'll hopefully be going back in the water on Monday after we do a little bit of painting and touch up and things like that. We're still doing adjustments on the monitor wind vane and getting ready to install that. I do have the blocks made for back behind the backing plates and the blocks made for on the deck, and so we'll be working on that here tomorrow also. Dana will be working on the keel section down here. Claire will be working on the monitor along with me, and hopefully we'll get this stuff underway. So we'll be back tomorrow for day 5 of pulling the boat out of the water and doing dry dock work. So this is the new piece of Deadwood that we're putting on. Dana's just filling in the holidays, as they call them. Of course, there are no holidays right now. We're working our butts off. Actually, it looks pretty good. Let's go look on the other side and see what it looks like. So there we go. We can see the piece of wood that's been scarfed in there. And we've got the jacks just holding the wood up. It's not holding the boat up, just holding the wood up. And then tomorrow we're going to move this keel block that's right here and then replace the rest of that Deadwood that you see down under there. Kind of got to do it in 2 stages because you can't move the blocking, as that is what is helping to support the boat. Hello everyone. Well, this is the start of day 5, what is otherwise known as Friday, and this will be the final day for getting the Deadwood on and various jobs like that. And then Saturday and Sunday I'll work on the monitor wind vane, finish that job up, and then we should be going back in the water on Monday. So the major job we'll do today is we'll get the travel lift in here to move these keel blocks back underneath the new Deadwood that we have installed, and then we'll cut out that piece of Deadwood that remains in there, and then we'll scarf in the new Deadwood that goes there. So it doesn't sound like much, but it's going to be a big day. We'll also go through and go ahead and put bottom paint on this area. They'll move the jack stands and we'll put bottom paint underneath the jack stand pads, and they'll probably also move this bow support and we'll put some bottom paint under there. For the monitor wind vane, we've worked a lot on our support, and that's about all that we've done. And so we're about ready to do the actual mounting of the wind vane. So today we're moving blocks so that we can replace the rest of the Deadwood. So we managed to get the boat blocks moved. Now we're ready to work on the rest of this Deadwood. And while he's working on the Deadwood, I'll work on the monitor. So hopefully we can get everything done by Monday for launching. Well, hello everyone. Hopefully that didn't scare you with the abrupt change. No facial hair, most of my hair cut. That's okay, Dixon. That's the dog I helped to care for here in Georgia. And you may be wondering, well, what's going on? Well, we'll get into that. The work continued on Friday afternoon, and we did well. We got the Deadwood replaced, and we started working on the monitor wind vane with plans to finish that up on Saturday. After the day was complete and we got all cleaned up, it was time to retire to the boat. And as I mentioned previously, I was renting a room from Dana and Claire on their trawler. At about 6:30 that night, I was going from the trawler to the dock and slipped my footing and ended up falling about 4 feet onto a swim platform and injured my ribs and my shoulder and the back of my head. I did not black out, but I did hit hard enough that we felt like I probably broke some ribs, and certainly injured myself enough that I couldn't move for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. That was certainly not part of the plan, and it really put a wrench in things. I managed to get to the shower and get cleaned up and then come back and lay down. And in the process of laying down, the gentleman who lives in the boat across the dock came over to take a look at me. He's a paramedic there in St. Thomas, and we both agreed that there's not a lot they can do for broken ribs other than stabilization and pain medication. So I elected to not go to the hospital that night. We both agreed that there was a risk of having injured the cardiac muscle or the vessels, but they don't have a CAT scan or an MRI on the island, so there was no way to evaluate that anyway. I didn't want to be helicoptered off the island with all of that additional expense, and so we both agreed if I made it through the night, my vessels were probably okay. The next morning, which was Saturday morning, I was still feeling like I had gone 3 rounds with Mike Tyson. I managed to just rest that entire day and was taking some Bayer aspirin back and body for pain. It did a little bit of good, but pretty much I was immobile the entire day. Sunday came around and I was still doing very poorly, and I made the decision that trying to recover on the island was probably going to be a bit more difficult than I wanted to endure. So I made the decision to come back to the States and to come back to the farm in Georgia where I was helping out and to recover here. At the time, I didn't know whether my recovery would be a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or a year. But I did know once I got back here, I could visit a doctor and get a better evaluation. I flew back on Monday, arriving back here late Monday night. On Tuesday, I went to the clinic and got x-rays and scans and whatnot. Turned out I only had 1 broken rib. Feel like kind of an underachiever here, only breaking 1 rib, but that was bad enough. Breaking 1 rib is far more pain than I felt when I broke 3 of my leg bones here a few years ago. It has now been a couple of days, and I'm beginning to feel much better and beginning to get a much better outlook on what the future holds. And I'm hoping to return to the boat towards the end of the month, maybe the 25th or 26th or something like that. Go ahead and get the monitor wind vane finished up and installed, and do a few other small projects out of the water, launch the boat, do a few sea trials, and then go ahead and make our trip from St. Thomas to Charleston, South Carolina. And then the eventual plan is to continue on up the East Coast, go outside the Gulf Stream and go around and take a trip up to Mystic Seaport, and then on up into Maine and Nova Scotia and so on, and visit some nice, cool places where I'm not roasting like a turkey in an oven down in St. Thomas. That just doesn't work out quite as well for me. I tend to like things a little bit more chilly. Some of you who are longtime viewers of this channel will recognize that I've had a number of mishaps over the years. And yes, I do live a life at risk. I tend to take chances, and sometimes those chances don't end up with very good outcomes. I am trying to be a little bit more careful and trying to think things through a little bit more and to take a few less risks. But I do like an active life, and I kind of accept that I've gone through a few of my 9 lives, if I get 9 lives like a cat does, and that, you know, there will come a time when the outcome is not as good as it has come out this time, and I accept that. But I just don't want to retire into a rocking chair and do nothing for the rest of my years. So that's kind of the update and where we stand and what has happened. As I say, I'm feeling much better and feeling much more positive and much more willing to look forward to the future now that I'm not in so much incredible pain. And I do recognize, had this happened at sea, it would have been very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult. There are ways to deal with issues at sea. I am not a person that is in favor of calling for help, such as ambulances, Coast Guard, things like that. I believe that it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves and to take care of our own issues, and not to put other boys and girls at risk coming out there to save my carcass in the middle of the ocean when I'm taking extreme chances. So that's where we stand right now. The boat is still on the hard. It's still located in St. Thomas. I do have friends who are keeping an eye on the boat, and I expect to be back there pretty soon. If you would, please give us that old thumbs up icon. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. Really don't need well wishes and things like that. I know everybody cares, and I appreciate the fact that you do. But if you have any questions about the boat and the progress that we've made so far, I'm happy to answer those. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you might want to subscribe. Continue to follow our adventures and our accidents and whatnot. And we'll see you back here on the channel again very soon. Thank you so much. Goodbye.